So I took a break from the whole diet thing. You know what I mean? This past month has been really off the charts stressful. I think you guys can understand that because you probably had a very stressful month as well. So taking a break from the diet is what I needed to do because I was all over the place. My diet was failing me. I was seriously doing things that I shouldn't be doing. You know what I'm talking about. I was eating out. Yeah, I was eating out. I was out of town for a few days, trying different things, having 2 meals a day, which I don't always do. Usually I keep that to the weekends. It started to creep into my weekdays as well. And not to say that 2 meals is not a bad thing. I really want to eat 2 meals a day. I think my metabolism is slowed down and the hormones are raging on in the perimenopausal phase of my life. I'm not quite menopausal yet, but I can tell it's coming. It's happening. It's totally happening. Just have to deal with it. So the eating out, meaning oils that I don't normally eat when I'm at home, and the sugar. There's a lot of hidden sugar in foods that you wouldn't imagine. It can be in your dressings, on your salad. It can be even in your starches, things like that. But what I do know is when I have too much starch, then the weight definitely is going to tick back up. And that's what happened. I decided not to weigh myself, and I think it's a good idea if we just don't weigh ourselves as long as possible until we're back in our regular routine of dieting and whatever that looks like for you in your lifestyle. I try to take on the low calorie density foods and eating whole food plant-based. Now, I'm not 100% whole food plant-based. I'm probably about 90%. I do eat meat occasionally and, fish, which is still meat, right? But I usually eat that once or twice a week. I feel better when I do that. So I'm getting some protein and I'm getting some fats there. So I think that is okay. It just has to be minimum because what is it about? We're chasing the health first. And if we're not getting the nutrition that we need fully, then the long term is going to be a problem for us. You may be able to lose weight for a short time, but we in this channel want to be consistent. We want to stick to the program and gain longevity just in general, right? You want to live long, but you want to be healthy as long as you possibly can. I hope when I do pass away that I am functioning and living the way that you should up until the day that I pass. Does that make sense? So the stress is a main culprit of weight gain, as you know, especially in the belly area. And belly fat can be a little nasty little critter that we have to attack in some way or fashion. But you have to think about how did we get there in the first place. And so if your cortisol levels are high, right, that's one of your hormones, that's a stress hormone. And because I've been so high stress, I've been having a lot of that belly fat and I don't appreciate it. I really don't, because I almost feel like I look pregnant. And yeah, it's not happening. So I thought about this a long time ago. I took, when I say a long time ago, about 4 years ago, I took a DNA test and it was strictly based on your nutritional makeup, your genetics, and how the foods that you eat and how it will affect you best, and what is the best diet for you. And basically it's a balanced diet. It's a 30-30-30. I didn't really believe it when I read it originally, but now that I'm going through the menopausal change and I'm thinking about how I can deal with the hormones and eat the correct foods that will affect me in a positive way, I realized that that test itself, I pulled it out again, it still comes back to balancing. So keeping low carbs, and meaning low carbs about 30%, and keeping low fat about 30%, and then having protein about 30 to 35%. I figure I try a little experiment and eat a little bit more protein than I have been eating. And so I've been looking at that and also keeping my fats in check. Now, avocado is really where I get most of my fat at the end of the day. So I really don't eat that much, maybe a half or a quarter of an avocado a day, and meaning about 4 to 5 days a week that I actually have avocado. So I'm not gonna be afraid of having the avocado and enjoy the good fats. What I've been doing is eating the sugar and then eating those hidden oils, and there's hidden salt, obviously, when I've been eating out and being out of town. So that is where we're going to return. So my thing, I would say, that is the one thing that fails us all in our diet is not sticking to something consistently. Meaning, when we get back into our routine, you return from being out over the weekend, or you were traveling, whatever that is, you got to give yourself a couple of weeks before you can assess how I'm going to adjust the diet, or am I doing something wrong? Because it takes a few weeks for the body to reacclimate itself into the routine that you were doing in the first place before we went off the rails, right? We went off the rails, and that's okay. So give ourselves a break, but just remember, you have to be consistent. The other thing about the routine that I was in is my plate positioning. I was not doing the proper plate positioning, meaning I was eating too much fat, or I was eating too much protein, or eating way too much carbs, that it was taking over my plate. And really, for me, when I'm in diet mode, I need to be 1/4 of my plate should be starch, and then 3/4 of my plate should be veggies and maybe some fruit as well. Add in the extra things like maybe some seeds, maybe some nuts, like a salad, my fish as well. If I'm going to do the fish, what I see for me is that I have my fish, and then the rest of the plate is vegetables. I would eliminate the starch when I'm eating the fish. So I hope that makes some sense. But I think when I have the starch, the fat, and the meat together, then yeah, it might be a recipe for kind of a disaster, meaning weight gain. If you're trying to be 100% whole food, plant-based, you don't have anything to worry about, right? But I know I really need some of that protein that I would do on the weekend with fish. Occasionally I would do eggs, but that's very, very rare, maybe once a month. So at the end of the day, the diet can fail you. It's about the lifestyle, not about the diet. The diet is temporary, but the lifestyle is basically forever. And if we want to have good health and bring down your cholesterol, get away from taking medications, especially if you're on borderline diabetic, any of these things we want to stay away from and stay clean as possible. And that is by changing what we eat, how we look at food, and having a positive relationship with the food. And bottom line, have to stay consistent. Eventually the weight will come off. So that's what I'm doing this week, and for the next week, and the next week, and the next week. So what are some of the things that you're doing to get back on track if you've fallen off the wagon? And it really isn't that, but just, you know, getting back to basics. And we know we have to eat at home. So what are the things are you doing? I'd love to hear more of it. I'm thinking of doing a live question and answer type of video. So if that's something you're interested in, please do leave that comment, and I will plan for it in the next coming week. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to the next video. Don't forget that caregiving begins with you, and always keep searching for that perfect bite and balance. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Let's fly away, just you and me. I need a little break from the city.